Yes.
That's a great opener right there. That's a good look for you. So,
Uh,
hey everybody, it's JayRy and Jorge. This is our little series called I Wonder, and let's just get right into it, Jorge. I wonder what was your response, or what were other people's responses after the last episode? Episode.
yeah, so episode one of how many? I was very reluctant to watch myself, to watch us talking about just meandering about because we covered so many topics.
Sure.
And a couple of days ago, I was like, okay, I have to watch it before we do our next one, at least. And then during the middle of it, I was like, oh my God, this is not bad. And I was looking at myself and I'm like, so, like, I do so much with my face that, of course, I don't know because I'm never on camera. But I've looked like a Muppet. To me, I was like, I look like a Muppet. I guess that's
You
funny.
know what? You're okay. Two notes. One, yes, you are animated. It's part of what makes you a compelling person, in addition to what's actually being said and thought. But you're on camera from time to time. I mean, for God's sake, this is at least the fifth or sixth thing we've taped. So you're on camera from time to time.
Yeah, and every time, this is the thing, every time we've taped something, I always look at myself and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is the first time that I've seen myself taped that I was like okay with it. So that's why I started to send it to my friends. And I got very good reactions. Like a lot of my friends were like, well, this is really good, and it made me want to interview them. One of my friends said that it was very vulnerable, that we went and talked about very vulnerable things that most podcasts or most, whatever, this is not a podcast, I guess, a video cast.
It's a
Um,
J versation.
the J versation, the JJ versations. Yeah. That they don't go, deep. And we went very deep and we shared vulnerably. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of like a man circle, but like online, and that was interesting to some people. And they encouraged, and I was encouraging to me, it was interesting to me. Also to, like, as an excuse, like we said, to talk to people and record the conversations, because otherwise it means it's funny how, like, now, unless it's going to social media, like, the conversation is not that it's not worth it, but it's so much more worth it to share, because sometimes we have such incredible things to say to
Right.
each other. Why not
Right.
share it, right?
Right. And for me, it's also it's just a personal project for me to, capture conversations with, family and friends because um, we're living in an extraordinary time. And two, or did I say A and then two? Yeah, good. A, B, one, two. But so we're all on borrowed time, So for me, it's also
Yes.
a matter of, like, I said this to my mom the other day. I said, I told her, I said, Mom, I want to, because we taped some things together that I haven't posted before I left California, before I moved away, and I want to like tape more with her. And I was talking to her about that, and I was like I remember as a kid like taping conversations like with my grandmother about like the war and what was going on back in the
Mm,
1940s and stuff like that, right? But like
yes.
that, I don't have that anymore. Like it was on some cassette tape that I brought my little machine, and I wish I still had that, because I just like I'm a very visual guy. And so yeah, I've got, photo books and stuff like that, but they don't talk to you, you know.
Mm,
And when I see these things on social media about like, oh, here, give us your photographs and AI will make it dance and
yeah.
stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want that shit. I'm like, I want to like actually like
Yeah.
have like the, again, I'm already back into anti-AI and we're not even 5 minutes in. But but I don't know. I just like, because I'm not physically around a lot of my family and friends as
Yeah.
easily accessible. I like trying to capture conversations, and maybe it matters to people. There are a lot. I have a lot of them that aren't public, so because some people aren't comfortable, and that's totally fine. But like
Yeah.
I want to have a moment that I can look back at conversations with friends and family, and have a little visual scrapbook that's also available worldwide.
Yeah.
You can look at it anytime as opposed to grandpa pulling out the old, projector, or something like that. But it's
Yeah,
just
no,
it's just my way of trying to capture and hold on to some things.
yeah, no, I totally, I thank you so much for making us do this. I told my dad yesterday I want to record you and the family history.
Love
He's
that.
told me the story of the family many times, but I
But it's
forget
not
it, right?
captured.
It's not captured, and I also the details, right? It goes away, and again, we're on borrowed time. We don't know how long we're gonna be here for, and then suddenly, like, the family members start to die out, and you cannot forget, and the only thing remaining is, whatever is the story recorded on a
That's
book,
right.
a tape.
Well, and none of this is new, right?
Hmm.
When you like all of these stories of ancient civilizations, like what was it about? It was about telling stories around the fire of the
Yeah,
generations before and the battles and the safety of the village and whatnot, and even like hieroglyphics of capturing stories. We have to capture this, and so they wrote these intricate animations on walls that we still can see to this day, right? So it's like it's not an original idea by any stretch, but we've never had a more easy way. It's the abundance of content, can get
yeah.
exhausting of how many pictures can the same girl take of her breasts or butt. But no offense.
Not enough, not
No,
enough.
no,
That's the answer.
no offense, because they're very enjoyable. I'm just saying, like, that's not a history as well. So I'm like, I'm not at all pretending like I'm some Puritan, far from. But like, um, but yeah, there are times to be reflective as well, and so that's what some of this medium is definitely for at least in my purpose. Yeah, but
How, yeah,
so
well, how was it? Were your reactions? I mean, on your side to the video, you asked me, returning the
well,
question.
yeah, I liked it. I liked it, and of course, I'm in it. It's sort of like my career too, right? Like any interview, like I see it probably like 4 times
Oh, really?
before anyone sees it once, because I
Oh,
lived it, and then I gotta watch it back to do like a first like a rough edit to see like
yeah.
what parts and ums and uhs and occasionally fix little tweaks here and there. Then I have to upload it, and then I gotta watch it again. So most times I've seen any piece of content that I do professionally or personally, I've seen it way more than other people because I'm the creator, I'm the editor. It's a one-man show.
Wow, I didn't. So you watched our recording 4 times.
Yeah, I've watched it 4 times now because the fourth
Wow.
time was when I went back and I pulled out a clip that specifically talked about the Royale 33 resort, and then I put that like clip. We
Yeah.
talked about it for 14. Here's the funniest part about that clip or that video is that you turned and said like, oh well, let's talk about the resort that you're building, right? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, just real quick. I'm like, here's the 60 seconds, and we spoke for four.
Yeah.
I kept 14 minutes, but I think it was closer to 17.
Yeah. Here's the 1 minute version. Yeah.
Right. Well, but
But
it's also, I mean, it's also me because I'm used to communicating. I'm used to being, a marketer or director. I'm used to being a coach. I'm used to like explaining things, so it's like, it's very natural for me. But yes,
yeah.
I watched that last video 4 times and I think it was great. Again, I look forward to us continuing to talk about plant medicine and philosophy and what are the things that matter in life because,
But hold on, before going into that, did anybody else did you show it to anyone else? Did you get reactions from other people?
not directly because it goes up on my channel, right?
Hmm.
Which means that, like anyone who's a subscriber is already seeing it, if it's hitting their algorithm and if they've had time.
Mm.
You know, my mom, of course, saw it, and she asked me a question about my bio. She's like, "Wait, what? You said this?" And I was like, "Yes, mom." Like,
Oh, she didn't know.
right, it
You
was something she didn't know. But you know, the reality of that also, I'll tell you exactly why she asked that question, and to not be coy, is because, you know, there was a period of time where, you know, like I was a, you know, young man growing and being independent, and so I wasn't talking to my mom, you know.
Mm,
So it wasn't like a hatred or an animosity, but it was just between like 17 to like 23, like I was going out and trying to, you know, blaze my path and you know, figure things out. So I wasn't like talking to her about every move I was making and stuff like that. So yeah,
right.
it was kind of funny. She's like, "Wait, you did that?" And I'm like, "I sure as shit did. Yes, I did."
You
And
went to college?
well, I mean, she, she knew most of it, but yeah.
Okay, so your mom has approved and like didn't know a couple of things about you. We didn't go actually in the you very briefly said like, you know, you work in hip hop, but people don't really know when I tell people about you
Mm.
that your show is one of the biggest shows, if not the biggest show in hip hop. I don't know if you want to just give a little bit about that. That's very impressive.
I'm producer director of Big Boy's Neighborhood, hosted by Big Boy, who's hilarious. He's a hip hop icon. It's the most successful hip hop entertainment show in history. It's the winningest show in history, and mostly on radio. And then we've also been on television, and we have a huge, you know, digital presence as well. With and I manage his four digital channels now too on YouTube. So like, yeah, YouTube. That's why I say like professionally, I watch videos, and I don't think I don't have to film all of them. I don't have to edit all of them, but I am like the final gatekeeper before they go out. You know, of still watching like every single video and, you know, product quality control. And it's fun. It's great. You know, I still absolutely love it. But yeah.
How many years have you done this? How
So
many years have you been at the top?
so 90. Okay, so 98. So that makes I'm in my 27th season. Yeah.
27th year, or is that a
Well,
season is a year?
Well, yeah. Some of these shows now do things multiple seasons in a year, which is cheating. This is the 27th year. Yeah. With just this show, and then I start
Wow.
and I did some other producing before that, but this is definitely my crowning achievement of, you know, like professional life. Absolutely. Yeah.
And we talked about a little bit last time that when you moved to Costa Rica, the idea was to work not maybe less on the show, but just like to start doing your own thing
Well,
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, so I had a conversation with Big, my business partner, you know, years ago, that I was moving towards the exit.
Yeah.
um, and you know, and again, for all greatness, like the show is still wildly successful and popular. So like, you know, he doesn't want anyone else running it, and he's not ready to retire. And you know, we've been partners, you know, for so long. So it's like, you know, I'm not trying to make anything difficult at all for him, because I mean, he's been a gem of a partner for me for so many years and so supportive. So yeah, so we've just figured it out. We've just figured it out of how I direct from out of the country, and how we keep, you know, building all of his platforms, you know. So yeah, so I mean, the show is still going really well. I mean, I'm still, you know, moving towards the exit, because, you know, my plans are, you know, to take it more easy in Costa Rica, and build this resort and project that I'm working on that we spoke about last week. But you know, it's part of the, it's sort of the gift and the curse of like American business, right? Is that like when you make something successful, there's so much money, and there's so many consumers in the United States that like, I mean, once you make a successful business, it's like you might be able to just keep printing that shit for years and years and years to come. I mean, you know, because America is a very unique place. You know, you got 330 million people there to try out your product.
Yeah, once it hits, you just keep doing the sequels.
And most everyone in America, again, living overseas, like, I mean, people in America may or may not have any idea of how good they've got it in the sense of like disposable income and stuff like that, because most people in the world don't have anything close to, you know, how much people get paid in America and all those kind of things. So,
Yeah.
so all of that is to say, the show is still rolling, you know, and
But how is it that you have more work now than before? Like,
well, because we've expanded the platform. So like,
I see.
example, when I've just mentioned that now we've got 4 YouTube channels, and it's like,
before there was only one, or not even a YouTube channel.
And I wasn't like fully in charge of it then. So I've absorbed more in my constant state of adaptation. I've absorbed more responsibility, you know, but again, it's great. It's valuable. It keeps the product as good as it can be, at least by my standards. And so, it's good. We get along great. And like I said, the product still does really well. So it's like, you know, why not, you know? Like,
have you ever talked to Big Boy about ayahuasca? Meaning, has he ever done ayahuasca?
No. No. So in our conversations about it briefly, because again, I don't really believe in like evangelizing ayahuasca. Like when people bring it up and we can have a conversation in common about it, happy to discuss it all day long, right? But I don't evangelize it because I don't believe in like bringing people to ayahuasca. Or like I believe, again, I could be completely wrong. What do I know? But I don't ever want to like press somebody to say you should do this. So I don't, right? And I absolutely fully believe that ayahuasca could be unbelievably valuable to the world population, let alone direct people that I love and care about that are closer than the billions of people in the world. But I don't evangelize. I try to inform, and I try to, you know, tell like what I know about it. When I do hear people saying stuff about Aya that's like, you know, false, it gets me a little annoyed. And so then I will back up, you know, my experiences a little bit more, even if I wasn't asked in that circumstance, because I don't like people trashing it. But back to Big for a second, like I spoke to him about it, and again, like I mean, without speaking out of school, I mean, we all have pain and traumas and all sorts of things. Like he's not unique, I'm not unique. You know, nobody watching this is unique to that. We've all got something that's eating us up, perhaps, right? But he was really concerned because when he read about it, this is from what he told me, he said that he was really concerned about like the purging and stuff like that, because like a severe, not just the fear of it, but like he's severe gastric bypass, and so like his system already can't even like process a hamburger the same way that, you know. And
oh my God.
So he was concerned from a health purpose that might be too much for him. And he's not even like an aspirin guy. Like he's not even, he doesn't.
An aspirin guy?
Meaning he doesn't like any medicine, even though it's paying like a freaking aspirin. Like people in the States are, you know, again, like pop pain pills, you know, for like nothing. He's not that kind of guy. He doesn't even do cough syrup. I mean, like he's just never been like a medicine guy.
Okay.
So
interesting.
He's resistant with reason, I will say. And so therefore I don't really talk about it anymore, because there's no purpose in me, you know, like I again, when somebody like has resistance, then I let them have their resistance. I don't press.
Yeah, I mean, it took me, maybe we can ask, how it took me a few years when a friend of mine mentioned it to me, my friend Rory, He mentioned it to me, and I was very resistant to it. And
He's
it
still
was
talking
all,
about Aya?
yeah.
No.
I guess my question would be like, how? I mean, because we at some point we wanted to talk about our experience. Maybe this is
Oh.
maybe this is a good segue. What brought you to ayahuasca? What was your experience?
So, so uh, I had a couple of really traumatic things that happened in my adult. I mean, I had difficult things that happened all through life, but I had a couple of things that hit me all like back to back, and I was just like so overwhelmed. Um, and um, and I had heard about ayahuasca, and I
How old were you?
had some
You don't remember?
well, I mean, I haven't like written the book here, so I'm trying to like do math and go. So
I see, I see.
I started coming to Costa Rica in
Huh.
about 9 years ago. So that would mean that
Mm.
that this conversation started about 10 or 11 years ago, I would say. So I had friends that talked about it, and it was described to me as a type of medicine that you take, and it really gets you in touch with your pain and your demons, perhaps, right? Um, that's how it was first described to me, and I'm like, well, I've got that. And so I asked about it, and I was in California, and there were some ceremonies going on, perhaps like in Topanga Canyon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like coming together, like it just wasn't materializing. And I saw the documentary, The Reality of Truth, with Deepak Chopra and Michelle Rodriguez, and what an amazing documentary for me,
Interesting.
of anybody who is even considering what is plant medicine about, what are these answers or these things in my head that I can't quite get answers to, or I can't get some resolution for. Like, please watch that. That I will evangelize, because it's not actually, you don't have to take medicine to watch that. Like, just watch that, and maybe it can explain better than I could. But I watched that, and then I was going through all these traumas I was telling about. I don't want to fully go through what all those were right now.
Tell us all your traumas, Jason, for the record.
Not right now. Well, because some of them aren't done still. So it's,
Mm.
um,
Wow.
so then here's what was really interesting. At least to me, this is where I just really started like being able to, like, a lot of people attribute things to luck or God, or and things started to like come together, like, and I attribute it to the universe, and it's not anti-God, but it's just, that's not like my spirituality, is to like put everything to like God doing it, right? That's me. But the universe was starting to like put some things together, and it was sort of cleaning some things out of my life at the same time too. And I was interested in Aya, and it wasn't coming together. And then I got a new barber, and I sat down in that barber's chair, and I wasn't even in there 5 minutes, and one of the other barbers walks by and is like, "Oh, hey, hey, are we still doing ceremony at your house?" And he's like, "Yeah, blah, 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 Aya, yeah." And I'm like, it has now appeared. Like, all that, I could not get a ceremony to fall in my lap, right? Just, right? And then all of a sudden, I started telling him what was going on, whatever. He's like, "You're coming." And I just met him, and he was a friend of a friend. So he wasn't like a total stranger, like I walked to a barbershop, but like, we didn't have a tight friendship at that point. And so that's when Aya first became available to me. We had a private ceremony at his house. I still absolutely believe that first one night in the hills of Los Angeles was the top 1 or 2 ceremonies ever I've had out of what am I at? I don't know, like 18 nights total in my life I've done.
Mm.
Like that first night was just mind blowing. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I've been a fan ever since.
That's so interesting. So it was just one night?
The first one was just one night at a friend's house. Yeah.
And did you purge? Or was it more? I didn't purge in my first two or three. But did you purge on your first one?
I did purge. I did leave the house, and I.
Under the effect?
Mhm.
No. And they hunted you down?
Well,
When you got into your car? No.
okay, so
Oh my God. That is
I've told
absolutely.
I've told this story, so forgive me, but um, okay,
You've told
so
this story? Where? I
I
have
have.
never heard this.
I think I
Okay.
think I think I think I think I've told it with you.
I don't remember you leaving ceremony
We'll have to
under
we'll have to
ayahuasca.
we'll have to go back and check the episodes. But and anyway, here's what happened. Um,
Okay.
so in medicine, and this is my first time, and again, I'm an analyst, and so it was very difficult to like let go of control so that the medicine could work, right? So it took time, and then getting into it, and the bathroom that everyone was using was like a powder room that was right at the front of my friend's house.
Mm.
And so I needed to go to the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom, and I'm on Aya, and I was being called to leave. Not like having a problem leave, but to go outside.
Oh, I see.
I just
Okay.
walked out the front door. Now we're in the hills of LA, which are very desolate. Like you just got like big houses, and it's very quiet, and it's like 2 a.m. or something at this point, right? In December. It was actually on my birthday, which was another amazing entry. What a gift for
What
myself,
a gift.
right?
That's right.
I walked outside, and 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 I have found that during ceremony, like I have a connection. I'm usually having a conversation with I say with Mother Ayahuasca, right?
Mm.
And so there was a whole narration, and I really feel in hindsight that that this happened because like I was a tough customer. I wanted to be there, but it was very tough to like get through to me. And so I was getting like the world tour and being spoken to like the whole night. I walked
Okay.
outside, I went and I walked, and she guided me to my car. And my car was a nice, exotic, expensive car, right? Many of you who know me know exactly what that car is that I'm talking about. And she said, "You see that car? That car is really expensive. That car is really showy. You don't need that car. Um, and you certainly don't need to prove anything to your father,
Wow.
right?" And so like that, so things started to happen during ceremony, which, like I felt like, because I've talked to many, many people who have had all sorts of different experiences and, not necessarily like mine. And to me, I feel like the universe, the spirit of Mother Aya, whatever you want to say, the connection with the plant, the unlocking of my own psychology, psyche, whatever is going on, right, in these moments, it just created like such freedom to actually have like a someone or some presence that knew me better than anyone else, even if, spoiler alert, if it was me talking to myself. You know what I mean? Like whatever
Mm.
is going on during this ceremony is un some of it can make sense, and then some of it can possibly does not. So it started there. Then she walked me further down the street, the narration. Now I'm completely down the street, out of sight, away from the house, right? And
Wow.
thank goodness, because it's like it's up in those areas like in Mulholland and stuff. So thank goodness, like
Yeah.
I didn't do something stupid, and or nobody was drag racing their bikes or
Right.
crap like that. But anyway, so then it's December. My birthday's in December. So then here's this like crazy ornate, candy cane lane, house. And then she stopped me there. And she said, you see that house? It's just like with the car, right? She's like, you see that house? The house is really expensive. That house is huge. That house is like the house that you had when you were raising your daughters. And you were never so sick in your life as when you were juggling everything to try and keep up the appearance of that house and that facade, right? And I'm like, that's exactly right. I got so overweight and unhealthy and just sick, and my ulcers, and then surgeries for ulcers, and completely correct, right? Just again, just boom, boom. The therapy is just like hitting me exactly like where it was necessary. After that, I walked over to this giant weeping willow tree, and the tree was crying. And I went over and I was hugging the tree and talking to the tree. and it just gave me just like, again, that rooting, that absolute, like, the far, there's so many things here, but it's like,
no, it's great.
It is a plant medicine. It is a loving medicine. And I got all of the connection to planet, to sky, to that actually hugging that tree. And,
it gave you permission. No, it's kind of like the willow tree gave you permission to cry. It's almost like,
yes.
It's interesting how the symbology comes in, right? Like the crying tree makes you think like, oh, I can cry too. Nature is also sad sometimes, and everything kind of flows.
And again, I mean, not to, there's no exaggeration in it. I'm saying, like, this is exactly what my experience was, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, was it a chance that I needed these things to be said? And could that have been done inside of my friend's house? Or was it better that I actually went to that crazy ornate house and that tree and my own crazy ornate car?
Yeah.
Would the lesson have been as valuable if I had stayed in? But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it was like predetermined, in my opinion, by the universe to have these experiences that actually broke through to me. And it sure did. I started going back to the house, and then the shaman was at the driveway, and he was
like, where the hell are you?
Disturbed. But again, like, he has to obviously know. And so, like, and that was another thing, because I also have like another one of my, challenges is like defiance and figures of authority.
Of course.
And so even with that, like I was getting, like, I could feel myself like getting hot with his look of disappointment. But I know it was out of concern for my safety, of course.
Of course.
I wasn't getting lectured, but I was creating a story there that he was like, mad and whatever. But anyway, back in the house,
But how did you manage that authority problem? Were you able to? I wonder if that's.
I don't recall narration in that moment because the narration, because it was more like, I feel like when narration is happening to me during ceremony, it's when I'm out, right? And even though I was like walking, I was completely out of my head, like third party, like watching myself, right? And that's when I have narration. When I'm actually like, when a human in the room is talking to me, I'm not there now.
I see.
Even though like, have you ever noticed that? Like, when you could be in the room and you could be like seeing what's going on in the room, and then as soon as you close your eyes, then again, within a moment, like, you can be gone.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced that?
On under Aya and not under Aya, yes, both.
Okay, yeah. So it's like he interrupted, so I didn't have narration at that moment, but I did have like anger and heat that was coming off of me, and I remember it very well, because I'm like, yeah, that's you. Like, you get really worked up when somebody challenges you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But and after you had the interaction with him, this authority figure, this father figure, missing father figure thing, did it come up? Any story about that?
um, not that night, but I mean,
Mm.
many, many, many ceremonies through have continued to have, um, situations where that's brought up and things about my father and all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, authority is an interesting one for men, no?
I mean, I would imagine it's come
Yeah,
up definitely, like you said, earlier about like men's circles and things like that.
yeah.
So, yeah. What about you? I've
No, that was great. Thank
I've
you,
spoken
thank
in
you.
grand detail about my first night, but also just for clarity. So that all happened like before you and I even met, right?
Yeah.
So,
And then right after that, well, just to finish the loop with your first that was the first experience, and then when was the
that was the
second?
first one. Mm,
Like when did you say, "Oh my God, this is it"? When did you
well,
decide to do the
okay. So
second night?
then, okay. Okay. Um, so that was my birthday, right, in the top of December, and I was going on a I always I usually always um, travel around Christmas because I get time off from media, and then like with my daughters, my older daughters, it's like I'd have half the holiday with them and half the holiday without. So I'd usually either we'd go somewhere and or I'd go somewhere when I didn't have my time with them for the holidays, right? But that year, I had been trying to go to Costa Rica over the holiday. It wasn't coming together, right? And I wanted to go just for like another adventure because I had such a great time. Like one of the first times I had gone, and what, and then it was like, oh, yeah, because you're not like Jason, you're not supposed to go back to Costa Rica just to go, surfing for 7 days. You're supposed to go down there for ceremony.
Mm,
And so then I booked, so then that like unlocked after that
mm,
first night. And so I booked Rhythmia after
mm,
that, which is mentioned in that documentary, The
mm,
Miracle of Truth. And I booked Rhythmia and I was there in January or February. So
mm.
right after that.
Like a month after, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I went, down for more. And when you do there, it's a week-long program, and it's like you do 4 nights of Aya out of the 7. So yeah. And then there are now, I don't know, 9, 10 years in, something like that.
Mm.
Or maybe somewhere in there, somewhere in that number.
Interesting, because I also have
17 or
like my
18 years.
so yeah, my first time was around 2017, so it sounds like you were like 2015, something like that.
Sounds like we're very close in.
Very close, yeah, interesting. Yeah, wow. And so after those 4 nights in Costa Rica, when was the
Mhm.
next, how long until you went back to the medicine?
Well, it's been all sort. So I should write this down. But
Well,
but
we're writing it down right now.
well, I know, but I mean, I don't have the facts. Like I don't like I so
But it
I,
was it a year, less than
I
a
know
year?
that out of the 18 nights, I would say they're much more clumped towards the beginning
Yeah,
of than now.
yeah,
Because I've probably only done like 2 nights in the last 2 years.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I haven't done it in
mu-
like
it's much
5 years.
less
Yeah,
because I feel like not that I'm cured by any stretch, but like I feel like I'm on a good path and it's not calling me and I'm not in crisis.
yeah,
It's been very valuable to me in crisis. Uh,
yeah,
that's for sure. And my God, I was in crisis on that birthday year.
yeah,
Yes. So, um,
yeah. I can relate to that. Like not needing it. That's the other good thing about ayahuasca, compared to like then it hasn't called me. Like I did it like maybe like the last 3 or 4 nights that I did, which were like more than 5 years ago. All were the same message.
Mm.
Like that was like, why are you coming here? Like you already know what to do, right?
Interesting.
And it's about integration, which is goes back to what you're doing with your center,
Yeah.
which is like people can get caught in this eternal healing ayahuasca or medicine stuff
Yes.
when they actually need to put what the learnings were into action. And once I got that message, I was there was nothing else that I needed to do, or rather, that the message was the same. It's like going to watch the reruns. Like you just need to.
But we
Yeah,
all have that one episode that we really love and we could watch again.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, like, if you keep watching, interestingly enough, like one of the reasons that I kept going back was because I wasn't clear. I got the idea that God doesn't exist. Like, I got the message that God is not there, that there's nothing out. And my friends are like people that I would go to, to do plant medicine with. They were like, "What do you mean? This is the most spiritual stuff. Like, ask the question again." And I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe, right?" So then I asked the question again, and I would get the same message that like it's not something outside. It's anything. If anything, it's something within. Um,
That's
and
well, if I may,
yeah, please.
two things I am very compelled to respond to. One, when you said about people perhaps doing it too much, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Um, a dear friend who is no longer with us. Um,
Mm,
I loved him very dearly, and he was. I felt he was doing more than necessary, and I, who am I to judge? Um, but I mean, he ended up taking his life anyway. So I do feel that like it's important to know that like Aya is not a cure. It's for me at least, I see it as more of like a path or a potential for course correction or
yeah.
enlightenment or acknowledgement of why we're fucked up.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do about it, right? Like one of the things, just to steal a line from Jerry Powell, who runs with me, like when he's telling his story, like when he was in ceremony, it's like it was either his dad or his grandpa like turns to him because he's watching like a traumatic event from his childhood. He's like rewatching it in ceremony,
Mm,
and his grandpa, and it's like really disturbing, the thing that to happen to a child. And his dad or his grandpa turns to him and is like, what makes you think you're so special, right? And so I think like
mm,
that's one of those things that too is like Aya's not a silver bullet, but for me, it's been great. It's been very helpful. But there, you experienced like, okay, I'm getting the same message again, so maybe you don't need it as much. And or I had friends that did it way too many times, and perhaps again, no judgment because I'm not in their shoes, but perhaps that wasn't exactly what they needed. Maybe that wasn't, maybe some things were too much because they weren't getting the healing they needed no matter how many times they went a month.
yeah. I mean, that's why it's important. What you're doing is so important because people, it's not just, do drugs basically and hallucinate your way out of a trauma. It's, get an insight into what the root of the trauma is,
Right.
and then design yourself a path, get help, professional help if need be,
Mm.
and figure a way out now that you know that the things that you didn't have awareness about, thanks to the medicine, thanks to the hallucinations, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and move, find a path forward. If you keep clinging to, Mother Ayahuasca's skirt, trying to get the answers from there, like it's just you're never going to the path. Go ahead.
And if you keep doing that,
Yeah,
isn't that yet just another addiction?
of course.
I mean, because many people do come to Aya through addiction. Can't
Yeah.
can't quit smoking, can't quit opioids, can't quit whatever,
Cocaine.
whatever
Yeah.
else, right? As I wipe my nose. No, it's just
I
terrible
can't
timing.
quit.
Terrible timing. I've never ever enjoyed cocaine.
I
But
just like the way it smells.
I, I just like the 500 movies and Narcos miniseries. It just makes it look so fun. No. Um, anyway, yeah, I think just like anything, it's like it sounds ridiculous to use the cliche. Oh, everything in moderation. But like,
No, no. Yeah.
but like, yeah, Aya can also be. It could lose its effect if you're overdoing it or not, paying attention to the lessons. So therefore,
Yeah.
it is still so human. So it's because like there are moments in my explanation of things where I feel otherworldly. I feel that this is some type of divine intervention, these messaging, these things, however it's happening. Is the pineal gland being activated? Am I actually connecting? How am I seeing things like this, right? So there's times it absolutely feels like that. And then when you finish, you still come back to your human temporary body and your human temporary existence. So it's like we still have to find that gap, as you were saying, of like, okay, well, the heavens aren't going to just like, put their wand on me and everything is going to be fixed, But if it gives a path and if it has a way to like, develop some other understanding or to spark an interest in people to get out of a situation, make a change that will better their life, then you've got a better chance. I feel,
Yeah, sometimes I think the reason that hallucinogenics work, it's because it makes, well, in my experience, what happened to me is that ayahuasca just like sat me down, like it was the grandma, right? The grandma that sits you down and he's like, listen, there's nobody else here. Nobody's gonna hear you. We're gonna talk about the problem. No, we're gonna talk about the problem. And it's gonna be okay.
oh
And
boy.
then you're like, and it's all the vulnerability. Because like even when, if you do therapy, right, that there's a slight still not trusting, especially trauma, right? Trauma comes from like somebody did something to you so that you don't trust.
Sure.
And so when it's just you and the plant or you and the effect from the plant, it's you just allow all that to unwind and suddenly like, you can see it and talk about it in the privacy of your mind.
Yes.
Which is like nobody else is listening to this conversation. And we're gonna go.
No one's listening to this conversation, and yet you're also being loved.
Yes, that's pure love. It's pure acceptance.
In a very potentially embarrassing or difficult or hurtful moment, you are being loved.
Yeah, and that's really the healing potential of it comes from that, specifically that, right? That like you don't have to prove anything to anyone. There's in your case, like you don't need that car, you don't need that house. I mean, we can talk hours and hours. I mean, maybe this would be another one, right? Like, what is because I have, of course, tons more to say, and I'm sure you have tons more to say about the actual experiences. And I think maybe it's okay to just ask you for 1 hour entirely. What was your experience about it? And you can add, because there's tons of lessons, but the most important one, especially about talking about tailored experiences, in the same way that the medicine is like gives you the tailored lessons and the tailored sufferings, if you're not willing to hear the lesson also, right? Because people are puking sometimes is because they don't want to hear it, or because they have something that they need to just get out, like they can't, right?
Right, like Big Macs or something.
But I love Big Macs.
Well, I mean, some people don't prepare their body. Like, you're a pretty guy. You're pretty you're pretty careful about like what you put in you. I mean, but like, yeah, some people are like throwing up and shitting themselves nonstop because you know,
Yeah.
they're full of stuff that doesn't belong in there. That's just, you know, sitting there attached to the intestines on a daily basis anyway. So that's a whole nother thing. But
Yeah, but like, just to, because we didn't talk about Royale, about your center.
it's okay. Well, there's nothing but time to talk about that.
Okay, well, the only thing I wanted to say is like in the same way that the medicine is tailored, I wonder how you're going to tailor the after school program, the recovery program, the integration programs. Like, how is that? Because it's not like, oh, come to the center, or at least I imagine, and I wonder that if people after doing ayahuasca anywhere go to your center, it's not gonna be a one size fits all program, and it's gonna be tailored to each specific and trying to interpret each of the person's experiences.
Yeah, no, we're
however.
not. We're not intending to be, you know, ayahuasca or psychological experts in
Mhm.
that regard. What it is intending to be, it's intending to be an escape from whatever brought you to ayahuasca to start with. For example, uh,
Mm.
a lot of the ayahuasca centers and ayahuasca experiences are full of people from the more industrialized countries, the United States, Europe, Canada, um, Australia, New Zealand, right? Most of the centers are full of people from there. Doesn't mean that's it, but that's just a lot of the clientele, right? And in my experience, it was also that, you know, because I worked as an American, I didn't have enough time off to go do ceremony and then like let it sink in and before I went back to work. So the purpose of Royale 33 is, yeah, it's to be like a beautiful, you know, luxurious escape. It's to be the bridge before you go back. Yet it doesn't mean that it's going to be a support. It's not going to be like an actual program of telling people do this, do that, do, you know, absolutely it will support you in the calm and not being a media frenzied place like the US, and it will not be full of like terrible foods and things like it's an idea of, you know, clean food, clean mind to let things sink in. But we're not planning
Mhm.
on like guiding people's integration with a formal program. It's just really more of being an escape um, before people rush back to the place where they're swimming in the trauma, you know, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I again, like we hours and hours we can talk about this. I'm curious to know more about Royale 33. So
Me too.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's tons.
Yeah,
But maybe for the next time.
of course. I love you,
Yeah,
and I'll see you next time. And the conversation continues.
sounds good.
All right.
All right, Jason.
Take care, brother.
Bye.
Bye.